Hello guys, let's go. My name is Dalaran. Today I want to go over some rogue macros, mostly combat rogue macros, as well as some other useful macros you might want to get yourself for PvP. What do macros do? They pretty much make you a script to make your life easier, like popping all of your cooldowns together or making abilities more accessible within a single click. Let's say you want to shadow step and kick at healer, but you're nowhere close to him, but you have him set as a focus. You don't have to switch your target, so then the healer will know you're targeting him, and then shadow step to him, and then separately press kick. You can combine all these abilities in one button, making your whole, experience altogether easier. So today I'm going to go over macros that I use for combat rogue specific, and then I'm going to show you guys some of the other macros that other people recommend for PvP. I'll write them out for you and I'll show you exactly how they work. First macro for combat rogues I feel like is very important. This is something I've gotten from Census. Killing spree has been fixed, quote unquote, by Blizzard before, but it still bugs out. Let's say for example you're trying to hit this guy, but they're stunned, feared, or some sort of other CCs on them. So for some reason it'll hit the other guy. Normally the target dummies will be closer together. Killing spree has been broken for a while. So Census found a fix for it. This will pretty much make it so that you are not going to kill spree another target. You're always going to be killing spree your current target. That's the first macro you will want to get. Some of the easy macros are focus gouge, where basically you will focus target, right? Set a focus. We want a keybind, and once you hit the button, you don't need to be targeting the person. You just hit the focus gouge, and it will gouge the target that is your focus. I made a macro for that for my gouge. I made a macro like that for my blind. And that's the only macros I made for in terms of CC. You can make a macro like that for a stun if needed, but for the most part, as a combat rogue, I usually train single target, so I don't have a macro for that. Another form of CC target macro is something you might want to get is a blind mouse over macro, which is something I've used multiple times in Battleground. Basically what it will do is it will use your mouse as a targeter. Let me take off the set focus. My blind is a show tooltip cast target equals mouse over dot harm blind comma parentheses blind. So basically if I'm targeting this dummy and if I'm trying to target him but I don't have him targeted, mouse over blind, and now he has the blind effect on him. So if you are, let's say, fighting in a brawl in BGs and you're trying to target a healer but you're kind of distance away from him, you don't want to remove your target from the guy you're attacking. You just mouse over, use the blind macro, so you can blind targets that are around you, which is very useful within BG situations and some arena situations. Another very useful macro is for finding rogues, and that is my sap macro. Basically show tooltip sap, clear target enemy sap. And this will always target an enemy, be it a player or a pet. You can change it to target player instead of target enemy, and it'll target only players. But this will allow you to target anybody in sappable range around you, and it will be always checking for targets. So you don't have to hit tab, sap in order to see if you can find a target. This will kind of do the job for you, and all you need to do is just spam it when you're walking around stealth looking for stealthies. The next macro I have for you guys is my stop attack stealth macro. Basically after you attack an opponent, you get into combat. In order to drop combat quicker and make sure you don't re-engage in combat, I just start spamming my stealth macro. It stops all attacks, and even if I have my target right clicked, I am just stopping all attacks and I'm leaving combat quicker than usual. And usually I get out of combat quicker. Let's say if I'm dueling other rogues, when they have me right clicked, they still are aggro and want to attack me. But my character doesn't, because the stopped attack completely has stopped all offensive actions, and usually I drop my combat quicker than others. Another macro you can throw together is a throw shiv macro, and basically what it does is it puts both abilities together. Throw is very effective when you're trying to kill off shaman totems or trying to keep a character in combat, like a healer from drinking or a rogue from being able to re-stealth. What's great about this, throw does not work at close range. So if I'm here and I'm throwing at my target, I'm not able to throw. I'm only able to throw at a certain range. So at melee range, throw doesn't even work. So at melee range though, shiv works, so I stick them together. So this way I don't have, because you can't even throw when you're at melee range with the opponent. So you can kind of just put them together and combine those two at the same time. So that is something you should get yourself, as it just makes a one button becomes a multi-purpose ability, something you should really apply for yourself. Another macro I have is Recuperated and Healthstone. Normally in Battlegrounds it works well together, Usually I don't try to get myself heals back up to full, but this can be used even if I don't have any combo points or energy for a heal and I have a health stone. Let's say I'm, expanding all my energy and using all my combo points offensively, and at the end of a fight I'm just trying to recover, I have no combo points. If I have combo points, I apply myself a Recuperate, so then I can start trying to see if I can recover. On top of it, a health stone can be used together in order to boost my health completely. That is not something I have for myself. You can separate those if you want to, and some people separate it for arena purposes, but I usually keep them put together. Another macro that is combat rogue related and specific is the Shadow Reflection macro, which is something I open up on my targets on, and this has more than one usefulness for it. So the Shadow Reflection is a cast sequence macro. That means you can just start spamming it and it'll get your abilities through. It'll first apply Shadow Reflection if it's off of cooldown. If you can't use Shadow Reflection, the ability won't work. Then, if Shadow Reflection is available, it'll go for Mark for Death, and then afterwards it'll go for Kidney Shot. If any of these abilities are on cooldown, it won't proceed further. Something I can do against healers, for example, is I throw Shadow Reflection, I can Garrote in between, then proceed to Mark for Death into a Kidney so I can lock down healers. So this is a macro that you can still play around with if you know the sequence of it. Or you can just simply spam it up in the middle at the very opener and completely lock down your target with a Mark for Death Kidney Shot. 2 seconds later, Shadow Reflection will Mark for Death Kidney Shot the target as well, and it'll copy the rest of the other abilities. So macros like this can be applied together if you just have them in a sequence. If you are going to have one ability follow the next, which makes my life easier. And because it has ability to first check for Shadow Reflection, then for Mark for Death, then for Kidney Shot on every single press, I'm able to throw in abilities such as Garrote in between, in order to give the ability more of a flavor. I can maybe throw even a Revealing Strike in between, any ability really. I can throw a Gouge or a Blind in between, and it'll still apply within the rotation of the macro. All you need to do is keep up with what ability is next, what is off cooldown, so you should have all these abilities on your screen somewhere. Another spell you can get yourself and get multiple variations of is Shadow Step. First you have Shadow Step Kick, and then you have Shadow Step Stun. So Shadow Step is an ability that will teleport to your opponent. And you can combine it together. Let's say if you have a healer casting spell, you can Shadow Step to them, press one button, and kick to press another button. Or you can put this kind of ability together, and you'll have to make more keybinds for that. So make a keybinds for Shadow Step Stun, like a cheap shot, Shadow Step Stun for a Kidney, Shadow Step Stun for a kick, Shadow Step Garrote maybe, Shadow Step Gouge so you can spam it back to back. Really, you can make Shadow Step combined with any form of CC. So every time you swap into a healer, if you do like running Shadow Step, that is something you can apply, but that means you'll have to make a lot more macros, and it ends up being more effective to make the macros rather than being the guy to practice the clicking of, oh, gotta click quest and then gotta Shadow Step kick, because that is much slower than being able to spam one macro with just 2 button hits instead of having 2 different keys pressed, one back to back. Now I want to show you guys some of the macros that I found on the internet, and some of them might help you in your playstyle. It all depends personally on what kind of macros you want to apply for your own playstyle. Whether you use macros or whether you want to use as many macros as possible, or you just find separating abilities, doesn't matter to me. But making macros together can improve just the lifestyle of PvP for certain people. Here's a macro that you can use, hashtag show tooltip, and I'll type these things out with me. And here you can put in spell name. You would want to put some offensive name, like Sinister Strike, for example, right? So you can keep up with the spell and its cooldown, and it's if you're able to use it. Cast, bracket, target equals mouse over, comma harm, comma exists, comma no dead, bracket, and then the spell you're trying to use. In this case, it'll be Sinister Strike. So a macro like this will be applied in a, I guess let's say go a peculiar way. I'll put it number 1. So this macro, it says you can use it in order to have a mouse over target for your Sinister Strike. So like right now I don't have any target, but if I decide to mouse over the train dummy, hit the macro, it'll hit him. I can see this being applied if you're trying to maybe stop somebody from casting a spell, or just trying to hit them off. I can see this better applied for killing shaman totems, because you are going to have to use an ability. In most cases it's faster to kill off a shaman totem by using a spell instead of waiting for the auto attacks if you really need the kill off to be done now. So let's say you have a bunch of shaman totems around, you target the one you want, like capacitor that's about to stun you, you hit this macro and you're able to hit a target that you're targeting with the mouse. So this is something that can be done on the fly. So I can see this being used for some of you guys, and just wanted to share this with you guys. Here's another one. This is how to set focus macros. If you can key bind it to have a key binding just for setting macros, setting focus on the target, or you can simply make a macro, which is something I'm going to show you here. So /focus bracket at focus exists bracket close none, that's a semicolon, bracket at mouse over comma exists bracket closed, open bracket, close bracket, and then you save it. And now whatever you mouse over is going to be your set focus. Say I mouse over the raptor, can't really set focus on him. How about the pet trainer? Set focus on her. So that is something you can apply in order to for your keybinds, and being able to set focus on targets much quicker is a good idea. And what it does as well is you'll see set focus on one guy, mouse over to another target, hit it again, it will actually take off set focus. So you gotta kind of hit it twice. So that is something you can apply for yourself. Definitely much easier. I like to have a keybind for it, and usually I just, if I ever need to, just clean focus. So this is really it, guys. This is all I can show you in terms of macros that I use, as well as some of the macros that I found helpful on the internet. Again, another thing you can do is look up some of the macros by your favorite streamers that you enjoy watching, maybe some high-rated streamers that you might be able to find on Twitch. A lot of them will have links on their Twitch channel to the macros that they use. And a lot of them are pretty easy to figure out because they're a very basic form of coding. Because they'll have targets, they'll have spell names, they might even have some shift modifiers, control modifiers, alt modifiers, and they're really easy to grasp. Again, don't get all the macros that a person uses just because they use it, because not every single macro in key binding and playstyle works for every person out there. So just find something that you find useful, find something that you can use to help yourself get better at the game, and just utilize those. Best way to get used to these macros is just practice them. Let's say you got yourself a focus gouge macro. The way I figured out how to use that macro is I would just focus a healer often, and no matter what I'm doing in BG, I would just go practice it. If they're casting a spell, I'll try to throw in a gouge. If a hunter at a distance is just trying to do barrage, I'll run by and blind him, just to practice it. If it trinkets it, I'll come up and gouge him, just to practice, just give myself an excuse. If I'm in a BG and there's a stealthy somewhere out there, I'll literally spend some time looking for them, spamming the stealth macro in order to see if I can find them. And those are the macros that you can practice. The burst macros is just something you'll apply for yourself. The self-heals macros like Recuperate and Hellstone is something you'll just find as a convenience in the future. And just practice the macros that you try. And that's really my 2 cents on macros. My name is Dalaran. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully the macros I put in this video will get you as a primer, as a starter to looking up World of Warcraft macros in order to get better at the game. And hopefully this will allow you to look for other macros and maybe even design macros of your own. Because making macros is something that people have been doing for a while, and they have been literally just a small little tidbit within the game that can make your life much easier. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Dalaran. I'll see you guys in the next one.